Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to GSL League for the second time today. This time we'll be looking at a lower division game between DN and JBD. Now, it should be somewhat of a close game from what I believe. DN has, I think, won one and lost one, while JBD has lost both their games. So it could be somewhat of a close match. What do you think, Vinny?
Yeah, both these teams are coming out of. They hopefully want to drop this loss streak. JBD have been having decent sets, all in all. Taking a game off Order of Blight is already impressive in and of itself, and the falling games really could have gone either way, but they're still 2-0 loss, so they're going to want to try and get rid of it today. DN falling to the Order of the Blight team that JBD did take a game off, so they want to try and show themselves that they aren't just going to get 2-0 all season. But overall, both these teams are pretty similar rankings. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we've just gone into a new kind of update. I haven't seen the other lower division games. Not sure if you have either. But do you think the lower division are ready for this new update? I mean, it hit MD and UD like a storm, I thought.
I think different teams are approaching it in different ways. I think there is, especially in the jungle, a lot of teams are shifting more towards this tank jungler playstyle. They're gonna go Pridwin. They're doing all these hybrid items,
Mm-hmm.
picking things like Rat, Rav, Thor. These junglers that can go bruiser, and on the
Mm-hmm.
other side of the spectrum, there are still teams that are picking these burst junglers. They have Garrett and Elweb still picking the Thana, the Loki. They're still getting picking Unicorn picking the Bakasura. But in like areas like DN and JBD, we're seeing Macbeth on the Circuit, on the Thor. We're seeing Semi on the Rat. We're gonna see. I think personally in this game, the two teams might play very similar, but all in all, I think LD are taking it very differently. So games along the line might be completely different to what we're going to see today.
Well, that's kind of good to hear because it makes it interesting, makes a nice little twist to what we believe is meta, or what they could just make up their own meta in this division. So if we're going into picks and bans here. So straight off the bat, we have a Vamana ban and a Janus ban. What do you think of those?
Yep, easy off the bat target bans. Scotty and
Hmm.
JBD has been playing absolute lights out on the Varman. He's having games where he's going like 14-0, completely
Oh wow.
exterminating the enemy solo laner, popping off. The Circuit is something Macbeth's talking about wanting to be picked up. And on the other side, Vulcan, Giannis are both things that Isus and Semi with the Giannis jungle are playing. Thor is another thing that Macbeth has been playing a lot. He had a really good showing against Fallen, and almost got a 5-man Thorol if it wasn't just a bit off. But I think these bans are very target ban related, which is pretty fun.
Really?
I will
So
end this
going
fight.
above kind of meta bans and more almost
Mm,
comfort bans, target bans
100%.
to kind of bully other single players, correct?
100%. But I think the first pick Hachi is just a standard like meta pick. If you're not
Yeah.
first picking Hachi, then you're obviously banning it. But this Nike is pretty
Onwards to
fun.
victory!
Yeah, that's interesting. I've seen Nike a few times in my ranked games, but not played too much. She's not really the normal or the meta, so maybe a bit spicy. Same with Bacchus. What do you think of that?
I think if I was JBD, I know Scotty personally. I think he's a really good Nike. He's had some
Mhm.
amazing rotations when I played with him last season. I think he's great at it. If I was JBD, I'd slam him on the Nike. He can lane bully. He can try and push out
Time
Valkyrian
to
and make those rotations that he was making last season.
Mhm.
But if they're gonna shift it somewhere else, like the jungle, and maybe pick up a more traditional warrior, I think that might work. But I don't really know how Macbeth is gonna be able to pilot it.
Okay. I mean, from what I've seen, like shells are really good right now, and I think Nike's like queen of shells pretty much. Maybe DN shuts that down, but nonetheless, shell after shell, that could go quite big, especially if it's on a good comfort pick. So yeah, I think that could go quite interesting. But nonetheless, you've got DN going into a Hachi, Agni, I think two good picks, and then a hovering the Kepri, which I haven't seen in quite a while.
get off of
They're
them!
both definitely comfort picks. I love me my Capri. Izus
Hmm.
loves his Agni. There were still options on the table for meta picks. Terra was available, stuff that Izus might play, like Thoth to try and lane bleed and mid was still available, but these are pretty comfortable picks. Like, if you get dived on by this Nike Barkers combo, Kepi Res, Bosch, you're just out of the fight. Doesn't even matter. Agni and Hachi can play more
I
engaged,
am the
Izus can
king
dash in,
of
Hachi can ult in. If
beasts.
you're getting Kepri ulted, especially against like Manticore's combo, you're just out the fight and they've used a big ability on you.
Yeah, I mean, I think comfort picks are quite an important thing. I mean, if you're trying to kind of play a weird role with a meta god which you don't play very often, I mean, you're probably going to be out the fight before it starts. So
Okay.
yeah, so I think a comfort pick's going to be quite hitting. But what has gone on there? JBD has picked up a Marty Chorus on the 6th pick. That is insane. I can't believe that hasn't been banned.
You know what I do got a comment on regarding bans is that Achilles and Awilix are two characters that I thought JBD would pick up themselves. They have
Really?
Nike knock up, they have Barkus knock up. You're going into a Kepri, you can Achilles execute his ult. These are good picks into DN, but
That
they're choosing to ban them instead, which is really strange to me.
That is actually true. I mean, after looking at DN's team, I can't imagine why they would pick up an Willix with, well, obviously no knock up themselves. But JBD would probably pick up the Willix here.
Especially since Hachi, or Agni in particular, doesn't have any CC immunity in his kit. If he's knocked up, you're forcing a beat or you're just killing him. At least Hachi can ult
Yeah.
out still.
Well, maybe it's another one of those comfort bands. You know, one of those.
That's true.
I'm not too sure what semi plays in particular, but maybe he's a deadly Willix. But nonetheless, it looks like a Merlin Hebo. I think the Merlin's meta. Hebo's questionable right now. I'm not entirely sure where he stands. But Achilles is a good ban, and the Willix we'll have to see. But then JBD does pick up tier for their first pick in the second after bans.
That brings up the question: if this tier is locked, where do you
Mhm.
think him and Nike are gonna go? Would you rather have
Today
Scotty on
I
his
am
great Nike
judge,
solo,
jury, and
and Beth try the tier
executioner.
jungle, or would you rather have it swapped the other way around?
I say mix it all up. Surely it's Bacchus mid.
Go
I
for it.
think.
Oh, obviously. How could
Yeah,
they do anything
obviously.
else?
I think yeah. No, I think this is a Nike jungle. After looking at tier
That's
being
fine.
picked up, I think it's a Nike jungle.
Makes sense.
Which does kind of
Not
go to
falter.
show. I think it limits DN's possibilities for junglers now. I mean, you can't. Well, you could, but I mean, going to Susanoo, that kind of thing, into a warrior is quite hard.
Yeah, trying to burst down someone who is going to build hybrid
out
like
below!
Nike is going to be a lot harder for Susano. But instead, we're
Yeah.
seeing a Mulan and a Ratatoska in the solo and jungle, respectively.
Yeah, I think Mulan's been hurting a lot from my standpoint. Ratatoska, that's an interesting one. I haven't seen him recently, but I think he's an okay jungler overall, so not too out there, not too wild. But we are looking at JBD Morgan Le Fay,
Face the wrath of a
and
sorceress
they have locked in for
scorned.
their, which I believe to be a mid laner.
Oh, what about the Barker Smith, man?
Well, you can only wish, right? Hey, look, Morgan Le Fay support, Bacchus mid.
It's
Surely,
hard.
look,
We've seen Lag do it last season in finals.
exactly,
Yep,
we're
yeah, we just
cooking.
took it,
We're
but-
cooking. I think JBD are cooking here, but we've got the full thing here. We've got DN's team, we've got JBD's team. Who do you think's got the better drafter?
I think JBD do have very strong picks. Manti
Mhm.
is always a good character. Tyr is a great in solo. He's been showing a lot of dominance, especially in LD and MD. He's been good at lane bullying. Morgan's a very safe mid. If something like Ratatoska or Mulan want to dash in on her, she has good self peel. The Barkers isn't really gonna be there to help her as much as she has to help herself. So going a safer mid over some other things, like there's been some Ra bans in SPL. If they were to pick Ra themselves to mimic the pros, I think that would be a pretty bad pick. So taking this more self-reliant mage into what DN has, which is overall a pretty dive-heavy comp. You're Rat ulting in, you're Mulan ulting in, you're gonna dash in with Agni, Hachi ult. They're just gonna W key at JBD, and JBD have to try and either fight their fight with their own engage, or they have to rely on their pretty safe backliners to play as safe as they will do.
Yeah, I probably agree with you there. I think, I mean, you got JBD team. They're kind of, I think they're quite safe. You got the Marty ult. They're quite,
Hmm.
you got the tier, which I think is going to be great peel or engage, depending on the team. Morgan's again, really great peel. Nike with a roll, great peel or engage. I think it's gonna be a close game, and honestly, I think it's gonna come down to certain players. I think if this Agni can pop off with his CC long range poke, or if it comes down to how much damage this knight can do, or if this tier can could get a pick off. I think it's going to come down to certain players. But what we will be doing, we're going to be going into the game now. I've been Omega and this has been Vinny, and I will be handing it over uh, to Outso and local Catgirl. Thank you.
One Arthurian mage banned and another one picked. I'm sure there's something poetic there, but I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I am, however, Sunset, joined by Outso and Soulslot here for this cast today.
Hello.
I'm pretty happy with the comps. I enjoy watching a lot of these characters, and I think pretty much all of them are in really solid spots right now. So I'm really excited to see what we're going to have here. I have the jungle coming out of both junglers when in what little limited SPL play we've seen more Bumpas leaning, I believe. So that's a very interesting decision.
And personally, I'm not completely sold on this Nike jungle, especially now that Sunder has been very popular pick with supports and even with some solo laners. That certainly hurts the character. But we'll see how Macbeth can pilot this. Taking a lot
Indeed.
of poke there.
Yeah, just a bit of the early skirmishes that we see sometimes. Usually you don't see a ton come out of them. Although we might with the Ratatoskr aggression coming out of Semi here. Nothing going to come quite of that. Bit of danger suddenly in the solo lane, though. Valk dies after being shoved under tower. You've always got to be careful of the pressure a tier can put out. He can displace you in so many ways at a drop of a hat.
Yeah, a bit of over aggression on lane, giving the Scotty opportunity to pull them out of the tower, and that's an easy first blood.
Indeed, and we're looking at a bit of a skirmish around the shield buff here as suddenly the gank from Semi comes in. Now health bars are starting to get low. Down goes Bush. That is the ADC down, now leaving your support alone. Never a great position to be in, and if that jump isn't up, you're not going to be able to escape on a Bacchus, and indeed he will not be able to. 2 kills heading the way of DN. So not the worst thing to come out, but you didn't get that first blood, and that is a fair bit of value that you're losing. Speaking of which, it looks like he wants second blood as well, with Valk not backing off just yet either. Trying to, but not having all the room in the world to do so, and is going to go down once again. A lot of just over-aggression there in the solo lane.
Yeah, I think Valkyrian is just, I don't know, trusting his heal too much, or just not respecting Scotty's damage there, and getting a second kill over the Scotty, which is mirrored over the other side with Sparta getting both of those kills on that gank.
Yeah, you know, long term, I think it's not going to really matter that much. But in this early game, if you are able to snowball off of what that first blood provides to you, and the solo lane is the snowball lane, it's certainly something that could play into Scotty's and to the larger picture JBD's hands if things go their way. We're going to have to see how that turns out around the 12-minute mark, but around the 3-minute mark here, beads get burned pretty fast from Bush. Not really much of an option as he's now forced to play at max range, and it looks like DN's duo lane is going to back off and just settle for a shield buff and a lot of pressure.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I personally don't like Marty Koras as ADC that much. Especially now before level 5, he's very easy to just bully out because he has literally no mobility.
I mean, as a jank enthusiast, I look at JBD's team and I see 5 supports. So, you know, I I might be looking at this game through different eyes in some circumstances, but yeah, I agree. Marty's early game in the duo lane is not the strongest thing. While he can bring a lot of damage, that doesn't always convert to pressure, and if you don't have a way to convert it to pressure, which it seems like one more death is going to prove they do not have the pressure they want in the JBD duo lane, Marty just kind of goes down just like he does there. Another pair down in the duo lane again for JBD. It seems like the whole map is just someone's playing, you know, the aggression is spread evenly. You've got over-aggression from the JBD side in duo lane, over-aggression from the DN side in solo lane, and then everything's just right in mid lane.
Yeah, Arcanarch even having a little bit of lead on the Morgan Le Fay over Agony. But yeah, this is... Duo lane is getting faster and faster out of the hand from JBD. Both duo laners 0 and 2 before 5 minutes, that's not ideal. Meanwhile, Scotty still has like a level and a half over Mulan. So we'll see if he starts to use that lead with rotations early on. Probably see around...
An attempt to steal the mid Harpies ends up evolving into a very successful kill, which now might evolve into a double on what does DN stand. I'm going to refer to this player as Stand for the rest of the match because that's a long name. Almost as long as the run that he had to make to get away from there, but he is going to get there successfully thanks to the root from Vinny DMD. Fantastic play from the Kepri there, getting your mid laner out is always appreciated.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is Izus on the Agni, just on a different account. Izus being the captain of the inn.
It looks like an invade may suddenly turn sideways very quickly if they can get enough damage onto Scotty here, but he is going to use that Lawbringer to get away. Very useful escape ultimate in some situations.
That is, and that is very important that he gets away, and he will be keeping that level and a half lead over Mulan, not falling there, and successful invade too. So there is still hope for JBD definitely here, especially with Scotty being that much ahead.
Oh, so close. So close to what could have been a massive burst of damage to spin the current pressure in duo lane in his favor, but unfortunately for Bush, that is not going to happen. And now, Semi heading in that direction might just be looking for a gank. No ultimate, as it was just used in the solo lane. No, it seems he's just looking for an invade, which works out because Bush is also looking to back out of there. So this is going to be a pretty free invade going Semi's way.
Yeah, good time to back, getting your trans online, getting it stacked as soon as possible. I'm kind of unfortunate that the purple gets invaded, but not much you can do there. If you try to contest, you're probably just gonna end up with your ultimate burned.
A very interesting choice here in the Stone of Gaia. We don't see that too often in Smite. It's a very interesting item, gives you plenty of sustain over time, as well as additional sustain if you're hit by specific types of crowd control abilities. So very useful into a tier, especially when you're trying to play extremely aggressive, like we've seen Valk attempting to do into Scotty here. So probably just a playstyle plus matchup pickup, in my opinion.
Yeah, the item has been increasing in popularity with the 10.6 patch, because I feel like they don't need necessarily as much defense as in first item, but also still matchup dependent, and in this case they have
Oh, and another Lawbringer comes out to counter the dive from Semi. He will be getting away, and now the Nike going in, using the jump, burning the ultimate. That shield is going to go down, is able to push away thanks to that shove on Nike's 2. Now Scotty able to engage, might just be able to get something done. Not quite. Semi's going to get away without covering the retreat, but low on mana. And now all sides have to back, but Scotty backed first and came back first. So definitely leaves him gaining advantage out of that overall.
yeah, still keeping that lead for himself. Very important not falling there. Yeah, as I was saying, the Son of Kai should be getting actually quite a bit of value in this matchup between Tier, Nike, and Bacchus. Actually, Mulligan Lefay too. There's plenty of knockups in JBD's team. And with the reduced proc timer, should be getting a lot of value with that item.
One thing I'm very interested in personally is, if you've seen me cast before, you'll know that I like to inject a lot of the things that I like seeing into these casts. And one thing that I've been really excited to see is the Librarian build potentially making a return. Seeing this Tablet of Destinies coming out of Izus is very interesting, and I'm excited for it. And it looks like he's building into another book that I have to assume is going to be Book of Thoth, unless it's the Tier 2 and then skip out on the Tier 3 to buy Soul Reaver later that we've seen occasionally made by some players at high levels.
As a previous mid laner myself, I hated that build, but I'm expecting it to be seen a lot more with the 10.6 changes. Well, Izus dashes in, but yeah, he is fine.
Seems like not a lot's going to come of it. Semi just making sure that he can get someone else out if absolutely needed, but able to back off safely. Bacchus flopping in, but for no result.
Yeah, Tablet is probably gonna make some sort of a comeback, and the second item definitely should be a Book of Thoth, because I just feel like you kind of need it to make Tablet enough value.
Yeah, Tablet does quite a bit for solo laners as its own thing if you have Guardians over there, but as far as mid laners, you really don't get the value you're looking for without the insane mana that Book of Thoth provides. So, definitely something you're generally looking to see picked up together, and a bit of an invade onto this purple buff. Doesn't look like it's going to be noticed, and as a result, contested. But it will evolve into a gank coming out of the Nike, will end up dashing under the tower for safety, so Sparta will be able to get away from that scot-free, but not without losing his buff, which is definitely not something you want to lose, but we're still just a little bit before that Marty pick's going to come fully online, I think, so it's not as bad as it could be. Plus, I mean, you're quite a ways ahead with a fully stacked Devourer's Gauntlet. Ooh, and a bit going on over in the solo lane. Scotty looking to try and get out of here, pins both of them to the wall, but now just looking for a way out, is going to use the guard stance dash. It's not going to be enough to knock them up, and then arrow in, swing the swords, and Valk gets the kill onto Scotty. Now looking for the tower dive is this Nike. Gonna get grabbed by the arrow, not gonna be able to get the kill onto Semi, and he's gonna go down to Semi. That is a bit of karma for what ended up looking like a strong tower dive at the start.
Yeah, that is huge done from Valk there, under the tower in the Nike. If that last hit of the Rend hits Semi, that is definitely a cleanup kill. Now just 2-0 at the end, while we're having a fight for the Siege Beacon.
Yeah, first beacon is up, and it's very interesting seeing so little put around it. Less coming out of the DN side, and JBD going to be at a pretty big advantage. Doesn't look like anyone's going to be rotating in time, so this might just be a fight for scraps, although Valk is looking to come in. Valk tries, doesn't get in. Semi also tried. We heard the pop there, but it didn't end up being enough to push JBD off of the beacon, so the first beacon will be going to them. That move speed will come in handy for rotations, especially to future beacons, actually.
Yeah, very good rotations with the teleport from Scotty there. In the ult and getting the kill on in the beacon, securing it with JBD. Despite losing it on kills at the moment, they are still within 500 gold of the end, so very, very tight game.
Yeah, the XP tells a bit of a different story, but when you're able to keep that gold lead shut nice and tight, that level lead doesn't matter as much as you get later into the game, because of course everyone's eventually going to hit 20 anyway, and so you're going to start seeing builds matter more in the late game. Oh, and a bit of a scrap over in the duo lane is going to go in favor of DN. always something you want to see, especially when we were just talking about how those XP and gold leads are both, they matter, but the XP will matter less as the game goes on. Suddenly, a gank. Val gonna have to try and get away. Lawbringer comes out. Out goes the dash. Bang, bang goes the sword. And with Nike and Tyr having all that CC, it's really hard to get away with such limited mobility you have on Mulan. And a Gold Fury.
Yeah,
The take is going to be successful. Now just a Bacchus looking to get away as suddenly we see Arca coming in, firing off the ult. But it's not going to be enough to save the Bacchus or, the Gold Fury, as it's much too late for that. They are going to accept the consolation prize of Pyromancer, pretty uncontested.
Yeah, pretty close for Scotty, but gets in, gets out free. Can we say the same for Macbeth, though? No,
Doesn't look like it. The Agni ult will drop a firebomb down and secure the kill. Looking for a fear is the Morgan Le Fay of Arca, and looking to go in is the Tyr of Scotty. Dropping an Agni ult to clear the wave. It is very fast and will get you the XP from it pretty quickly. Plus, with how his ultimate works, it does store multiple charges on relatively short cooldowns, so it's not as much of something you're losing out on as if you did that with Raw or Scylla or Morgan Le Fay. So, couldn't be much worse.
Yeah, and looking at the builds, it is the Book of Thoth in the second slot for Izus. He's already almost halfway stacking it. But we're just having a scrap on dual lane. What caught my eye is the second item for Macbeth. That seems to be a Dawnbringer. Not very bought item.
Yeah, it's an item I've seen being hyped up quite a bit on the YouTube and Twitch side of the community, namely by streamers. Okay, and the Scarab's Blessing is actually going to barely save Izus from a very dangerous scrap. Suddenly, another one starting over in the duo lane. Macbeth on this Nike, gonna put quite a bit of pressure out onto Sparta, who is going to have to use his ultimate to get away. We've seen those horse riding ultimates used to escape plenty, and in the mid lane, Scotty gets a kill with the tower dive. Tanks can do quite a bit of damage right now, and we are in peak tank phase of the game. In my opinion, the middle chunk of the game is when tanks are hardest to kill while doing the most damage, especially thanks to the new Pridwin glyphs, which are so fantastic if you are a tank player. We're actually seeing Pridwin being built by the Kepri of Vinny over there as well. So Pridwin on both sides. Massive shield, pretty solid damage, especially onto squishies. Solid arrow coming out of Valk here. Now stuck is Scotty, but they're not going to be able to keep him tracked for long enough. He is going to be able to get out. He's looking to get a little aggressive. Seems like he might get punished for it, but not enough damage coming out of the Mulan, so it looks like he is going to get away as suddenly the ADC start fighting. We're now seeing Marty with his fully stacked items online and a Nike at his side. Bushfires the ultimate and gets the kill. That is the power of this Martikaris pick. It is incredibly powerful once you get on the line, but now the junglers left scrapping around Fury Pit. Macbeth burns the ultimate and gets away as a result.
Yeah, that is a very important kill for Layla on the Marty. Oh, actually getting ahead of Spartan already from what was pretty heavy setbacks early on with a few deaths. Now 1 and 3. Their Crusher already completed, so basically has hit the power spike now, and this Marty will be starting to hit very hard right now.
Indeed, and that's going to matter quite a bit as the second beacon is about to open up. If the ADCs decide to rotate, things could get a lot more interesting. We see a lot of pings coming out, so the teams know that they want to be here, including Scotty using that teleport to get over there. Of course, at that tier 3 teleport, it is only on about a 2-minute cooldown, so you're not even hurting that bad. It's about the time you expect to be in the fight for. So Definitely not something you're hurting too bad burning. It's not a huge trade. Neither is the protection reduction on the Sun Khepri can throw at you. In comes Semi with the ultimate. I think I saw a Lawbringer just drop there. Health bars dropping left and right now. Macbeth, Arca, and Izus all trying to back out while still contributing. Macbeth going to have to leave. Dropping the firebomb is Izus onto the beacon, now forcing the entire JBD roster off. Scotty blinks in, but Izus is both going to be able to dash away and as a failsafe going to have that Scarab's Blessing dropped on him, so even if he had died, things wouldn't have gone too poorly. He is going to be able to sit back and poke a lot more effectively than a Nike is, and the damage from that plus the grab from the Bullybug Khepri is going to be enough to secure a kill onto Scotty and the second Stygian beacon.
Yeah, I see Lalo there thinking about the rotation towards mid, but noticed that the beacon already went down, just decides to go for a green buff and head back to the duo lane. Both ADCs deciding not to join for the fight. While we see JPD getting ready for the Gold Fury that has spawned.
Looks like Semi is looking to contest it with Vinny, but Vinny is incredibly low on mana. We're seeing an Archdruid's Fury coming out of this Ratatosker of Semi here. A lot of hype for the tank meta coming out of quite a number of players in the community, so no surprise here that we're seeing some of these tankier junglers start being built. Archdruid's Fury being just such an interesting item, in my opinion. I personally love seeing it do well. It's very nice. I love seeing unique items do well. And speaking of doing well, it does look like nothing's gonna come of that Semi. A good escape there into a Gold Fury initiation. What you have to be careful of now is having 3 members of DN right next to you. Drops to half health, but they now see the incoming members of DN. It looks like they're largely choosing to back off. Will it be enough? No, Semi is going to go in, get a kill on Griffin. Macbeth is going to be able to clap back with a kill onto Izus. Semi's health bar low, he's got a run, but Arca and Bush not much better for wear. Bush still dropping. Bush finally drops to Sparta. Sparta now looking to see what he can do as he gets pushed over to the side on his own. Pinned to the wall by Scotty, is going to be saved by the grab, but then going to get taken out by Arca in the end. Down goes Arca, and it looks like Macbeth may be going down if Valk is able to get this chase off. No, it looks like it is going to be given up in favor of what will now become a Gold Fury take for DN.
Very messy fights from both sides. Yeah, very messy fights from both sides. A bit overzealous pull from JBD on the Gold Fury, putting Griff with way too low HP. And then just a very split fight, Semi able to ult into the back line. Meanwhile, Scotty dealing with the enemy backline. And ends up being very good fight for the DN. I do believe it was 2 for 4 actually, with the Gold Fury to boot, so they're in a very good position now. Although it is only a 2k gold lead, but
I also want to point out that there are 4 Pridwins on the field, and 3 of them are on DN's side. That Pridwin is a lot of damage, and that could very well be part of what starts swaying things in some of these fights, especially seeing the glorious Pridwin glyph on Valk as well. That ultimate letting you dive into the backline. Griff now stranded a little up after Macbeth gets pushed away a little bit. Didn't think that was going to turn into much, but it almost led to 2 people dying. Now looking for a Pyro. Steel is not going to be able to get it. Now left once again trying to find a way out, going to use the belly flop. And it seems like DN's content to just kind of sit around in mid and wait for the pressure to make itself. The 3rd Stygian Beacon is going to come up eventually, and well, if they're able to keep JVD under tower, I mean, that's a lot of pressure on its own. What do you think?
yeah, definitely. And just so while we have Shimon ulting in.
Oh, ulting in indeed, and it looks like Arca goes down from that. Lot of damage being thrown out from Bush. It's not going to be enough to keep Izus off of Griffin. Now Bush has to use the ultimate as an escape tool. You jump into the air, you do a lot of damage, but that invincibility only takes you a certain distance, and it's not going to get you away from the clutches of the Agni of Izus. Macbeth also left on low health, but thanks to the protections from that Stone of Binding, is going to be able to make it just far enough out as Scotty goes back in to just try and execute a bit of pressure onto the DN roster, who now are looking to regroup and probably just set up some strong pressure around the map now that they've taken out all of the tier 1s and a tier 2.
It should be just back, get wards, and hover around Fire Giant at this point. Lead is getting to that point. It's close to 5k gold lead. 4 members already level 20.
We also see the Fail Knot coming out of Bush here. A very interesting pickup, an item that has seen a non-zero amount of play over the course of Season 10, but it has fluctuated in use, and if I'm not mistaken, it has fallen off over the past couple of weeks prior to this patch, and I don't think many players are looking at this item on this patch. What are your thoughts on it?
So far this year, it mainly has been these ability-based hunters using it. Just basically a replacement for Jotun's Wrath, because it gives percentage pen and pretty much the same power, while also getting the 20% CDR.
Ooh, hold that thought, because a Fire Giant pull is going to leave Macbeth at about half health with ultimate burned. Nike shield big enough to get out of stuff like that. A fireball from the sky drops onto Arca, leaving him at 1 HP. Things happening now on both sides with Pit. Scotty able to hold his own tier, a very strong high CC character. Arca going to be able to use that knock-up, knockback on the 2, throwing that dragon out to keep himself safe, but not exactly in a position you want to be in, running toward the enemy towers. Over near the Fire Giant Pit, Bush able to get a kill onto Vinny, now looking for a kill onto Sparta. Very low HP. He is going to get grabbed by the arrow, and that is going to snowball into his death, but not before he's able to fire that poison from the sky down, just enough to kill Sparta. Izus now looking to get a trade back. We're now looking at 2 for 3, so they are currently at the advantage. He's unfortunately going to go down. Semi had to back off, so Valk now left on his own. Titans have now been unleashed into this solo lane on the right side. So we're now going to see how the teams feel about what they want to prioritize now that these Titans are up, especially with respawn timers still ticking.
Yeah, once again, another extremely split fight. Scotty basically on their own, fighting with enemy support and ADC. Wow, Griff just stays way too long on the
Griff
lane.
goes down to Semi. It's very unfortunate. Now they're going to have free reign to take at the Titan a little bit, too. It doesn't look like much is going to happen as Scotty and Macbeth start making their way over. We're going to see a bit of a retreat as the Titans begin to clash. But it is 2v3 right now, with reinforcements coming in slowly on both sides. Using the knock-up dash in guard stance, immediately stance change, pin someone to the wall is a fantastic strategy. Semi's going to go down but be saved by the Scarab's Blessing of Vinny. Fantastic ultimate that you can never underestimate on either side. And Valk is almost going to be able to get out, but is going to get jumped on by Macbeth. The Titans now suddenly getting low on health themselves as both teams back off. These Titans are pretty big priority. They are the Titans running down a lane. You don't want to leave them unchecked. And sometimes you kind of value killing those Titans more than killing the enemy team, as we saw there. Just a bit of zoning instead of focus on the Titans. No one ends up going down other than the Titans in that fight as well.
Yeah, basically just resetting the situation. Back to the fire giant dance. While both teams are just backing towards and just starting the fight for that vision around the pit.
Tons and tons of wards going around on the Fire Giant. These teams want to know, and in just 1 minute and 10-ish seconds and counting, we're going to see that Fire Giant become enhanced, which means that pushing is going to become a lot easier thanks to the backdoor protection reduction. Griffin goes for a very, very risky flop. Now, low health, trying to back out, isn't going to be able to help his team in what is now a 5v4. Scotty looking to go in, harass the backline as well as the support, is going to be able to get a fair amount done, but it's not enough to stop Semi from getting into that backline and killing both of the duo laners, as well as Scotty himself going down, followed by Arca going down thanks to Izus, this Agni pick, putting in tons of work, and Semi gets the last kill for a deicide that I can only assume is going to probably be a Fire Giant. I see it. I was expecting an end myself, but I understand wanting to go for the Fire Giant. There is potential concern that you wouldn't be able to end. I'm not 100% sure where that would come from personally, though. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like they could have ended if they just walked in midway line. There's only 2 towers remaining, and they had over 30 seconds before even Bacchus was gonna spawn. So I feel like a little bit too safe play here, but it's not gonna lose them the game, most likely. So never hate the safe play. Just they could have just gone for the end.
But at the end of the day, I mean, they do say better safe than sorry. Like I said before, I do agree. I'm surprised that they didn't make the end call, but they have Fire Giant, and now JBD does not. So that is always going to be an advantage in fights, in sieges, as it looks like they're now thinking about Gold Fury. We're going to see Valk hover in the area over there. Grabbing the Cyclops camp, but more importantly than that, the chests to help close up some of that gold gap. Those comeback mechanics, they are to just prevent you from getting snowballed out of the game off of stuff like the Stygian Beacon and, you know, early Gold Furies and Fire Giants and whatnot. So, trying to make the most out of those. Looking for a tank versus bruiser fight is going to get the steal off of what I like to call the Crab Grab, named, of course, after my favorite Khepri skin, personally. But he is going to get the steal and push back the Nike of JBD. So that's always something you love to see.
Yeah, and if you're a JBD fan, it's something you don't love to see.
Of course not.
Definitely at a point where it's starting to be no longer JBDs to win, it is DNs to lose. 10k gold lead. EFG. Things are looking a bit grim for JBD at the moment, but they have a decent siege defense. Mogul Flay not the best mage in defenses, but definitely not far from the worst either. So
I mean, like I jokingly said earlier, I look at JBD's draft and my eyes see the potential for 5 supports. That does bode well for defense. You have a lot of CC, but just as much damage. I mean, knockups galore, plenty of hard CCs, like immobilizing sorts of things. We are going to see a bit of a sideways turn, though. Scarab's Blessing used on himself from Vinny, and worst of all, not actually going to matter as they all turn away from him, now focusing their attention on Valk, who's now left low HP. Both of your tanks low, but so are both of the tanks of JBD as Izus gets the kill onto Griff, and it looks like they are going to choose to back off with Valk and Vinny being fairly low HP, but not entirely off. Vinny feeling confident that between the health bar, the protections, and the shield provided by the Khepri passive, especially now with Valk teleporting back in, suddenly things looking a lot more in their favor. 30 seconds before Griff comes back up. Under the Phoenix they go. The grab comes out from Vinny, and it is going to keep Macbeth away from the fight. Phoenix will go down. Scotty looks to go in, is going to, unfortunately for him, get rooted, leaving Sparta able to get out alive. Same goes for Valk when both were in pretty risky positions. you're not unhappy about taking a Phoenix in that siege for sure.
Yeah, the start of the fight looked very promising for JBD, putting a lot of DN members onto very, very low health bars, but just not able to finish any of the kills, and with good poke damage and the Fire Giant sustain, DN was just able to be there and just take out the Phoenix.
On the note of that Fire Giant buff has just expired, DN looking at Gold Fury, but both teams probably setting their sights toward the Fire Giant as it is going to be up in about 40 seconds. And these 35 to 45 minute Fire Giant fights we see in any level of competitive Smite, they can be these massive deciding factors. Based on what we've seen so far and the comps, who do you think is looking better going into this next Fire Giant skirmish?
I mean, DN has looked very good in every single team fight so far.
Doesn't look like that's going to change. Macbeth going a little far up, is able to get out thanks to Nike's jump. And nothing will come of it, but DN will end up getting that Pyromancer, making their next siege that much more powerful, or helping them that much more to secure Fire Giant that they're now looking to pull immediately. I assume JVD has vision there, but it doesn't look like they're going to be contesting it very heavily. Oh dear, that is not a position you'd like to be in.
Yeah, I assume they're just trusting their siege defense, which was actually pretty good last time, and because they still had to deal with the fire minions pouring on the left side. So they just focus on the defending, giving up the fire giant, even though it is EFG, which will be making this defense quite hard.
Yeah, they killed FG just a little too early to get it enhanced last time, I believe. 10 or so seconds too early. So very unfortunate for DN, but they did end up taking a Phoenix anyway. And now they're looking for another 2 runic bombs in hand, or rather 1 in hand, 1 in claw. Suddenly seeing Scotty dive, has to use the Lawbringer to get out as his health starts to drop, but both tanks on DN's side now also low. Semi dives down from the Ratatosker ultimate, looking to get a lot of value out of it, and does. Bush having to use his own ultimate to get out of there, but it's not going to be enough as Izus secures the kill, and down goes the Phoenix, thanks to those 2 runic bombs. And now Griff looking very low health. We see a bit of chase coming out. And it looks like Sparta is going to be able to take down Macbeth.
Yeah, it seems
Scotty
to be
caught out a little bit, just a little too much, is looking to try and get Valk, but Valk is going to get him, and oh my goodness, they are going to be able to get the end. Griff not able to do enough with the knockups and the stuns, and Scotty not able to make it back in time, causing game 1 to go to DN. Very unfortunate, I would say. Like you were saying, we expected more of a siege defense, no?
Yeah, and it just seems to me like JBD was not completely on same page with who to go, who to go, and because like they were getting DN members to very, very low health bars, but not just being able to finish any of the kills. And then on the re-engage, DN was just able to secure the kills and push the Phoenix down.
Absolutely. More detail on that from the desk here as we throw you back over their way. We will see you in game 2 ourselves.
Hey guys, welcome. Welcome back to Desk. That was a good game. I think. Honestly, I think Semi did really well. I mean, going 9-2, 12 Ratatoska, and Spar himself as well, 9-3 and 11. I mean, look at them. They've all done well. I think the Mulan did really well, kind of keeping that front line. Vinny did some really good Capriols. Agni did great. The Ratatoska did great, and so did that. Honestly, really great showing by that team right there. What do you think?
I think, but yeah, I just agree with everything you said. But
Yeah.
as also said before, credit to JBD, their defenses weren't inherently bad. I think
Mm.
a lot of the things they did fairly right. It's just that I think there might have been some miscommunication, or just the fact that they were so behind, they couldn't quite do the aggressive plays that Macbeth and Scotty were maybe forcing. Either that, or there was some like a lack of follow up. There was some plays that JBD was doing, and I was like, oh, that could this might be scary for DN. On the left side, Siege, there was a good engage. A lot of them were poked out. Valkyrie and had to back and TP in. I was able to sustain with the Fire Giant and Capri passive, but if they just managed to get that extra like 100 damage at least, that fight could have been completely turned in JBD's favor. So you can't discredit them for not giving up. Like, they didn't give up, which is very important for a team in that
Mhm.
situation. They kept fighting. They had, if they just got a little bit more on that damage side, I think that game could have, like, I think the end could have honestly just fumbled that. But they managed to stay strong and they took the game.
Yeah, I mean the goal difference was quite large. The kill difference was quite large. Nonetheless, I think it was quite close. Nonetheless, it was really a heavy dive team compared to a heavy defense team. And honestly, I think DN did really well with their dive because that's hard. That's hard to do. Um, because but they just had so much dive, one thing after another. The Hachi ult, they had to Aegis that. The Agni bombs, they had to Aegis that.
Mm.
They've got the Marty ult. Marty ult goes off. Oh, he's got no bees. He's got no Aegis. Ratatoskr ult. They just kept getting hit after hit after hit, knock up after. It was, I think, the end did really well, and nonetheless, it's not saying JBD did bad. Just I think DN just did that much better.
I do think getting to that stage where DN were able to exert the amount of pressure that they got wasn't necessarily down to the decisions of DN. Rather, I think what killed JBD was JBD's own interesting positioning. There were fights around. There were
Okay.
fights in the side lane where there was like Griff was just staying by himself and got picked off. There was Macbeth at the pyro all by himself, nearly died, had to ult out and leave. There were a lot of instances where JBD was just found on wards that they hadn't cleared, pulled in by the Kepri pull, the Milan pull. They were caught out of position, basically, and the fight escalated to a 4v5 in DN's favor, and they were able to snowball that fight because of what truly killed JBD, which was their own positioning.
I think you got about right there. Right, so just before we go into a little break, who do you think, Vinny, deserves MVP for this game?
I think I think Sparta had a lot of really good moments in team fights. There were a lot of instances where he would get dived, he would play the dive very well. There was a engaging I think the first Gold Fury where both Macbeth and Scotty were on him and he played that really well. His relic usage was really good. I think Semi's parody of the duo lane to push the duo into an even more of an advantageous state that they were was a great decision. Instead of going to help Valkorion, he had the guy online. He wasn't getting soloed after that, and he knew that if I get Sparta ahead, that decision making would end up snowballing, which I think is really valuable in jungle. Because if you don't quite understand where your winning conditions are, and you go to areas where you might be letting your win position down, that might completely lose a game just from that decision alone. So I think Semi's calls were really good that game, especially in the early.
Well, you were in the game, we couldn't hear the calls, but nonetheless, I think Semi did a lot
Hypothetical
of good
calls.
setup, a lot of good dive, a lot of good rotations, just the ganks in the early, in the mid, and the late.
Mm.
I think so. Yeah, my opinion, I think Semi, but nonetheless, every player did well. So we will be going into a little bit of a break before we go into game two, and this was Desk. I hope to see you then.
Got wandering eyes, no, I seem to follow. Can only stay still for some
Hello, welcome back to Game 2 in Lower Division. DN versus JBD. We're going straight into it in picks and bans. So we're looking at, again, another comfort ban of Vamana. And it looks like JBD are afraid. That is a respect ban right there. The Ratatoska. Do you think that's the right decision, Vinny?
I mean, we were talking so much praise about Semi after that fight, weren't we? Or that game, weren't we? So you got to get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the Ratatoska ganks, it did really
Yeah.
well. It kind of, yeah, you can ult over the wards. So it kind of
Yeah.
makes them difficult, makes it easy to gank almost. Nonetheless, we're looking at so we're looking at Hachi, another respect ban, though, pretty generic as a ban. But a Vulcan, again, another respect ban. I like these LD bans. But DN more looking at a Ravana, respect ban, Circuit and Thor, pretty generic nonetheless. But DN are looking to first pick a Kepri. Now that is interesting. Don't get me wrong, Kepri did really well. Good job, Vinny. In the last
Okay.
set. But is it top worthy ban? What do you think?
I think
Probably the pick. So
I think the scariest instance with this Kepri pick is I think it's just the confidence that DN are just saying, you don't play Alquan, you don't play Thana, you don't play Achilles, you don't play any of these guys. They are being so like letting their egos of game one get to them by
yeah.
basically just flexing at them, saying, we don't believe you'll pick these characters. We're gonna run back what worked so well, and none of those characters like Achilles is up and available, but instead they're gonna go for an Agni Sobek first two picks instead.
No, I understand what you mean. I think an Alquan, Achilles, they are meta picks right now. They are very good. It seems like Deanna are a bit in JBD's heads right now, especially from the sound you're saying it. But we're looking at a JBD Agni and a Sobek. Agni did very well last game, so probably just taking it away. Nonetheless, good mid pick and a Sobek. Being buffed, good with the meta. I have mixed feelings about Sobek myself, but nonetheless, good support. Straight into a Thoth. I don't rate Thoth too much, but what do you think?
I think Isus's god pool isn't big enough to not rate the characters he's picking,
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
but like Thoth is allowing Thoth is going to be able to bully out this Agni Sobek combo, right? You're going to be able to you're going to outrange the Agni. You're going to have all this lane. You're playing Thoth. You're just a big lane bully. You're a big stinker. Going to shove your face into this Agni, which Isus was doing against the Morgan last game. But now you're going to a character that does it on purpose. You're going to be all in his face, and now DN has taken that Achilles away from JBD for this Kepri pick, which I think is pretty smart.
I think it's a good smart. Did you say that because it was your idea?
It actually
Nonetheless. Oh right, well there you go. Well, Achilles was a good pick, definitely. Taking it away. Because I'm not too sure if they play Alquan. Nonetheless, would be pretty good here. But they've gone for the Achilles solo and they've gone for the Mulan solo. I think Mulan did pretty well herself last time. She did get solo twice on the lane. However, when it got to team fights, I think she was able to keep pretty much over half the team away from the backline. So she did her job. I have bitten my words.
That's that Alquan pick you were talking about.
Wow.
I think Beth had one.
Can I just say that DN, right? I don't know. Is this overconfidence? Because they banned Thanatos, fair enough, and they banned Marty, fair enough again. But they left open the Al Kwong. Is this a what is it? A flex? Is it a we don't care about your Al Kwong? Is it an insult? What's happening?
I don't think I have seen Macbeth off of Circuit and Thor in my life, let alone in this season. So him pulling out Al Kwong is just they need an answer to just something. They're really scratching their heads. They need they have first pick Kepri. They could have gone Thana. It got banned. They have to pick something else because Achilles gets picked, Thana gets banned. You need an answer, and Macbeth is saying, "Hey guys, let me try it," and everyone's like, "Okay, as long as you do well." He's like, "I don't know if I can, but They're gonna go for it, yeah.
It sounds like you're in JVD's heads already. I'm sure that's exactly how the conversation went. Nonetheless, we are looking at a Willix. It was banned last game. Maybe that's but I don't think a Willix does particularly well into here. No, there's no jumps whatsoever from any team. So I'd like to see how that Willix does. But nonetheless, we do look at a Chablonke pick in ADC. I rate the guy. He's great into Alcon, I think, as well.
I love her.
I do. I mean, his ultimate's really great. I think he's meta right now. Definitely top 5 ADCs on my behalf. And it looks like for JVD's final pick, they are hovering the Cupid, which I do know is, I'm pretty sure Chablonke does beat. I'm not an ADC main. However, Chablonke does have an advantage against Cupid. But Cupid is another great pick for a team fight. What do you think?
I think the Cupid pick here is definitely like objectively good. You're canceling Kepri pull, Thoth can't dash. Like basically every movement ability on DN that makes this squad like hyper mobile is completely invalidated by one press of Cupid ult. So I think Laylaw is just gonna farm in lane. They're chilling out. They're not gonna let Spider get to them, and they're just going to scale, and they're going to keep it all online, and they're thinking, okay, we're going to have Griffin on this hyper-aggressive support, which we've seen. Griffin does play really aggressive. He's like, so I think Sobek fits him well. He's going to go for the plucks, and Layla's just going to be like, boom, Cupid all right on the pluck. They have to beat, or they will die. So I think the combo out of these two is like, I think it's a good choice against what DN have.
I think you're spot on. It's like you're reading the future. I do think this is a pretty good comp. Nonetheless, I think you've got DN with Kepri, Thoth, Achilles, Willix. Prove me wrong. And H Bronca ADC, very good. I think JBD with the Agni, Sobek, Mulan, Alcon, Cupid, all pretty much meta picks right now. Mulan's just good. Cupid is just good. Nonetheless, but which one do you think is the better draft here? Which do you go for?
I think if Macbeth can play his cards right, if he has this Ao Kuang hidden in the locker that nobody has seen, he can mow through DN. He'll be able to, he'll be able to dash the Thoth dash, he'll be able to catch X-Ball off guard, he'll be able to ult the Kepriols. If Macbeth does well, I think he can control this game, along with the sustained, like, the big circular sustained damage coming out of Arkanosh and Laylaw. So as long as he plays his cards right, this could be a JBD victory.
Yeah, I think you're right. So when it comes to what I said last game, I think two aspects I said. I think the first game I said, comfort picks are sometimes a lot better than meta picks, because if you can't play the meta pick, you're dead before the team fight, then you become useless. And the other thing is that last game, it came down to certain players, I believe, are gonna have to really do well to make it go well. And honestly, I think for JBD, this Ao Kuang is gonna be the thing which is gonna be hitting hard, and I hope he does well. I'm a big Ao Kuang lover. But nonetheless, we will be going straight into the game now. This has been Omega and Vinny, and I'll be handing it over to Chair 1 Sunset and Chair 2 Alto.
We are back with game 2 here with something very interesting that I am a massive fan of. We're seeing Mulan support, which directly results in us seeing Scotty on Sobek in solo lane. Very interesting.
Sobek solo, I personally do like. Mulan support, I'm more on the fence about. It depends on like how the first 5 minutes goes. If it goes badly, then I feel like Mulan support will struggle more than some other options would. But it is a very aggressive pick, so.
With your only hard CC outside of your ultimate being that bow shot, you can struggle into certain scenarios with both escape and peel. But like you're saying, that aggression that affords you on top of the damage that you get out of Mulan's base numbers plus the slow, as well as the sustain. Those can all be these massive factors, although whether they compare to a Scarab's Blessing is another story entirely.
I feel like this is very heavily pick oriented, especially onto enemy frontline. You have Sobek block and Mulan pull into an enemy support or a solo lane, and then you have Akwang execute just to get the kill.
Not to mention, you also have stuns out of both the mid lane and your ADC here. So both of those going to also go quite a long way in securing those executes for Macbeth here. Things looking kind of bad for Griff. Now low HP is going to go down, partially thanks to the efforts of Semi showing up at just the right time, but Bush will be able to just barely get away, almost gets hit by a stray celestial body being thrown his way. So thankfully for him, he is able to get out of that, and unfortunately for Ian, it's only going to be 1 kill, but that is first blood their way. But it's going to get traded right back by Macbeth showing up. Ao Kwang does pretty solid damage at all stages of the game, even before he's well and truly online.
Yeah, starting to look like we're just gonna see a carbon copy of game 1 where dual lane for DN is doing real well, meanwhile Scotty is getting the lead over on solo lane. But this time he will be on the Sobek, which for general team fighting I guess is slightly better pick, more frontline oriented, but like from ahead definitely does not do as much as Tyr would.
Plus, you don't have quite as much CC as the Tyr does. You do have the ability to grab someone and pull them into their own death as Kepri, though. Fantastic play coming out of Vinny there to get Bush down once again. Another kill going the way of the duo lane of DN.
Yeah, exactly as game 1 went. Dual lane starting to get behind early on. Semi also putting a heavy pressure.
Oh, and the grab comes out. Griff going to go down in the attempt at stealing Void Camp. Just in time, Bush is going to show up. Will he be able to save it with the assistance of Tower? He will, although he loses a fair amount of gold in the process. So definitely had to pick your risks there, and he chose the safe option. Less gold, but he does get the buff.
Yeah, and does hit level 5 of this wave, so will keep within acceptable reach of the enemy dual lane. While Macbeth successfully invades the blue buff of Valkyrian, putting a heavy focus on this side of the map.
We are starting to see Griff fall behind as well, thanks to the shenanigans that have been happening over in the duo lane there. Support definitely the least impactful role to get behind on, but it will still matter. Speaking of things that matter, will the grab matter from the Sobek? It doesn't look like it will. 2v1 about to come into a 2v2 in the solo lane. Tried to say come over and turn into at the same time there. Don't mind me. We are going to see the Cupid ultimate come out. Pushes back Vinny and Sparta, but that's about all it's going to accomplish. With more of a slap fight occurring, yet still in the solo lane. I mean, that's the solo lane gameplay we know and love.
Yeah, there I feel a bit of miscommunication, or could be just a lack of communication there between Vinny and Sparta, using both beats and having the wings of Kepri for the Cupid ult.
And now suddenly we're looking at 3 on Izus. He is going to be able to make it safely under tower, and that is going to be enough incentive for the 3 of them on JBD's side to back off enough for him to feel safe.
A bit ambitious ultimate try in Griffinizer there. I don't think even if it can hit, Griff there, would have made a kill, but can't blame the guy for trying, I guess.
You know what I love seeing is that Valk was confident that it was going to be Sobek support and Mulan solo. Because I mean, what else would you expect at this level of play? I don't think any of us saw the Sobek solo coming. So now behind temporarily in gold, effectively, because not only is that breastplate doing nothing against your laning opponent, that's also a mage in the jungle. So that breastplate is just what, 600 or so wasted gold now just sitting there until you start rotating, until you're fighting the enemy ADC. That's a
Yeah,
lot of gold.
yeah, we'll be hurting him early on, but then again, when he does finish up that item, will it be Oni Hunters or whichever from that tree? It will be a huge spike for him because of the fact that both jungle and solo are magicals. Will make him
Indeed,
very safe.
especially with the whole Kusari tree being fairly strong items in their own right. Scarab's Blessing is going to get burned unnecessarily, but we have seen DN go for a lot of safe plays that kind of look questionable in hindsight, but in the moment, they make plenty of sense. We are going to now see Macbeth show up, drop a ton of damage from Ao Kwang's kit. The splash damage and the dragons out of those sword swings gonna put in a lot of work, but not enough to secure anything over there. Looks like maybe the teams are just trying to make sure that neither side gives up control of the left jungle, if I had to guess. That Gold Fury being relatively impactful early on.
Yeah, JBD doing the pretty much the same as they did in game 1, where they give up a bit of pressure on Meanwhile, and that he will be hit, but not enough to get a kill on Arcanos. Meanwhile, Valkorian gets a solo kill on Scotty.
Indeed, and the fight's not over in mid lane yet. Macbeth going to use the teleport out, but it's not going to be enough as Izus runs in to secure the kill thanks to Thoth's smaller but still pretty chunky bursts that he has access to in his kit.
Yeah, looks like the Valkorian did use the ultimate, so execute kill into the Sobek. Pretty easy to hit. If their one is down. Meanwhile, Izu's getting the 1.5 level lead into Arcanos over on mid lane. Starting the stacks on his Karen's coin.
Yeah, indeed, early Charon's coin. We don't see a ton of early Charon's coin from what I have seen of recent play. What we do see quite a bit of, especially out of jungle mages, is the Cursed Orb, and then not finishing the Doom Orb for a little while. Cursed Orb providing a pretty solid amount of both stats and a strong passive. Bush gonna throw out the heart, and it is going to connect to Semi, which will lead to a death under what would have otherwise been a safe tower. Now choosing to back off. But a bit of a 2v2 coming out, missing the root from the Khepri, but he is going to nail the grab, but it's not going to be enough damage. But oh, Sparta is able to get the kill onto Macbeth. Oh my goodness, I thought that was going to be a clean escape, but it was not.
Sparta clutch hitting those two basics that they needed. Into Macbeth, unfortunately not having the beats up yet, still 10 seconds away. Khepri pull hits, and that's pretty easy kill into this Kwang.
Oh my goodness, speaking of fights centering around Vinny's Khepri here, we're gonna have another one around the purple buff, which does look to be a successful invade. Camp has been stolen. Vinny now going in with Semi, looking for some damage. Izus rotates over and is going to get the kill onto Griff, leaving only Bush alive in the duo lane. Now with 1 HP, are they chancing this tower dive? They are. Not enough damage out of Izus, but Semi will be able to get over there. Now they are under threat, though. Macbeth is back. Arca is here. Is that going to be enough damage to get them? No, they are going to choose to back away, with JBD's side choosing to not play too aggressive, with just moments away from disaster there. Oh my goodness.
Jesus does lose the bees, but that's all JPD can get out of that.
That almost ended poorly for Vinny in favor of Macbeth, and then it almost ended poorly for Macbeth as well. Nothing to come out of either of those, but those would have certainly been some interesting mistakes to see at this level of play.
I'm pretty interested to see what is the second item of this Agni build gonna be. Or is it just gonna be the T2 book?
It could be that tier 2 book into a 4th-ish item Soul Reaver. We do see that somewhat often. I think it's about as common as the Cursed Orb play, but usually when we see that, we see it in the 1st slot, if I'm not mistaken. So a little interesting to see it in the 2nd slot as the beacon opens up with a couple folks hovering around mid. Not too much centralization around this beacon. Bit of contesting, though. We are going to see the arrow of Griff get completely missed. The grab is going to come out, but to no result onto Arca. But now Macbeth is suddenly here. It's a 3v2. 3v3 now as Semi shows up. Vinny going to Scarab's Blessing on himself. It's not going to come up. Looking like Macbeth just wanted that execute to completely negate that ultimate, or, you know, maybe get that achievement. But Vinny is going to get driven away from the fight. Thankfully for him, Semi and Izus able to push Macbeth and Arca off of the beacon capture point, and it doesn't look like they feel confident on low health to go back in with Griff there either. Very unfortunate if you are the JBD side.
Yeah, I think Macbeth should have just given up the chase on to Vinny after he got the ultimate off and just wandered around the Oracle pit.
He just wanted the achievement.
Well, it's a custom, so you don't even get in.
He just wanted the achievement.
I mean, I would want to, because that's a very hard achievement to get, but...
It really is.
And looking like DN is going for another objective. Well, actually, technically not another, first neutral objective of the game.
Oh my goodness, a lot of resources dumped by Arca there, all for nothing, just out of range. Pyro will go the way of DN. Suddenly, Valk runs in, gets the execute, but it's a 1 for 2. Izus and Vinny go down. Arca's gonna go down to Valk as well. That resetting execute, putting in tons of work, almost getting a 3rd execute onto Macbeth, but not quite gonna connect. Now, suddenly, Semi left on his own. It is 1 versus 2, it looks like. And now the 1v2 is going to go toward Valk. That pluck, potentially putting in a lot of work. 2 people in execute threshold, but Macbeth is stuck around just a little too long. Things turn around once again in the roller coaster of a fight that this mid lane has been. But Scotty is going to be able to get away. Just barely. That's gotta be double-digit health. That's gotta be double-digit health.
Very unfortunate there from Macbeth. Just doesn't get the ultimate off soon enough. And Willish able to kill him before he can execute either Valkyrian or Semi.
On a roll with the neutral objectives, just trying to get that Gold Fury with just the support and the ADC. Of course, you can do it, but you've got to be careful. Now, with vision around, they're going to know that they're not getting this quickly enough. They know enemies are incoming. Now a fight for Oracles, the most minor of the neutral objectives, still pretty impactful, as is this grab coming out of Vinny. Gonna take out about a quarter of Griff's health bar. That is not an insignificant amount, especially with how tanky tanks have become on this patch. Plenty of cooldowns, plenty of health, all going down. Nothing major to come of it yet. Griff out of mana, but Vinny, quite low on health, is going to hit the root, but nothing crazy to be capitalized on it as Valk runs at Macbeth, trying to just get him out of the fight. You want your execute up and their execute away and or down. That's probably the mentality. Speaking of executes being up, Griff can now be executed, will be executed. The reset now present. The heart has been dropped onto Vinny, who was able to Scarab's Blessing himself. It will actually surprisingly be enough for now. Macbeth will go down. Vinny left running on low HP from the fight, but it doesn't matter as his team is able to get everyone except for Scotty, who is able to get away and back. Now going for the Gold Fury in favor of DN.
Yeah, another one of those fights that this set has had a lot of that doesn't look very good on either side, but just DN just happens to be the one getting out of it with everyone alive.
Yeah, it's those minor things. It's when these fights get split into 2, even 3 different fights, and it's those micro fights keep going DN's way. I think that if JBD, because it looks to me like JBD is the one splitting these fights a lot of the time into these micro fights. If they are able to prevent the micro fights from happening, they might have a better chance in all-out team fights. But I'm not 100% confident in that off of what we have seen off of these 5-on-5 fights. And that, of course, is factoring in the last game as well, because how could you not? But it does leave this gap in confidence. And if they're able to clean up the little mistakes they're making, I think they're going to be able to do things. One of those mistakes is we saw Griff missing a lot of arrows early, not missing these now, though. Suddenly in the solo lane, health bars get low, execute markers come out. But we are, in the end, going to see Macbeth be the one to go down. The ultimate comes out just a little too late out of Valk. That strike coming out just a little too far away from Scotty, able to dash away thanks to that pluck being a dash as well.
Yeah, another time Macbeth getting to someone to that execute threshold, but also falling just too low himself and dying before he can get the execute off. Very close for Scotty to be executed as well, just able to get out. And will be...
Ooh, does Griff have the damage? It doesn't look like he does, but he actually might. Vinny is scared that he does, is going to drop the Scarab's Blessing. Griff getting a little aggressive, a little greedy. Could it pay off? Not if he gets rooted in place, and no, they are going to get away. Griff really wants this one. Is conceding that he's not going to get it, but now, oh my goodness, suddenly Scotty over there, but Griff on low HP. Arca trying to play in range, but unfortunately with this fight happening on the back half of that tier 1 tower, Arca doesn't have a lot he can do. Scotty looking to be in a rough spot, tries to dash out, gets blocked by the Bastion, is going to get out. Macbeth ends up dying to Sparta in the duo lane, I believe that happened over in. So quite a bit of these micro fights happening all over the map, although these obviously not the fault of any particular styles of engages this time around, as it was not a 5v5 that got split off.
Yeah, I feel JBD trying to be too hard force on that fight into Isus. Luckily for them, not anyone dying in there. Meanwhile, Macbeth does fall onto Sparta. I think that was around the back EXP camp on the order side. Trying to invade. Just the 3-level lead Sparta has over. And there's the 2-level lead that he has over Laylor.
In spite of an ultimate Bush not able to secure that kill onto Sparta. It's not something that you want to be hearing if you're a fan of JBD. You do not want to hear ultimate did not win the 1v1. We are going to see the execute finally come out of Macbeth. I think that just after seeing the Ao Kwang pick, we've just been expecting the timer to expire significantly sooner than it has. But
yeah,
we finally got one.
Finally able to get his kill. And it's into Vinny. Unfortunate timing just a tiny bit too early for Gold Fury just about to spawn. Vinny does not get there early enough, but
Ooh, and
well,
now
Korea
looking
does
to mount a
TP.
defense. Indeed. So it looks like neither team wants to make the first move on this Fury now that they're both aware of one another's presence. Macbeth now going to be caught a little too far up. And is going to get Oof. That is going to just end in his death as he gets thrown around a little bit. You hate to see it if you're in that position, but unfortunately for JBD, this is going to be a Gold Fury going the way of DN once again. JBD just not able to position well to start these fights either. We're seeing hole after hole in their gameplay.
Yeah, they are playing pretty scared for a reason. There is a over 7,000 gold lead for DN right now. But in a 5v4 as they were, I feel like they just could have taken the fight, trying to get another pick, and then go for a Fury after that. Well,
Absolutely.
now it is starting to look like DN is just trying to go for use the lead they have and go for a 22-minute fire giant, and that is exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's full map control. I mean, they've taken both beacons, Gold Furies, they've taken a Pyromancer, and now 2 Pyromancers. I'm mistaken. Oh my goodness, the grab comes out. Griff is going to have to use the ultimate to get away, is going to try to get some extra damage off, but that's going to lead to his death at the hands of Izus. Now, Scotty, very low health. We're not even going to see anything come out of Valk's Achilles. Those execute range, they just don't last long enough as the rest of the team. It's just going to clean things up, namely Izus, now sitting on 7 kills, and Sparta now sitting on 8 with no deaths.
Yeah, it is exactly the thing I was talking about at the start of the game. For this Mulan support, for picks like super aggressive picks like this, you just don't want to be this far behind. When enemy ADC is 7 levels ahead of you, you're just kind of there to be killed.
Semi gonna get caught out trying to secure buff camps. Is going to be able to get away from Macbeth, but not enough to be able to go back in. Now suddenly on the solo lane side of things, Vinny, left on low HP, is playing very risky, is going to be able to secure not 1 but 2 kills for Valk thanks to his efforts. Valk just running in even deeper, is going to get body blocked on the thrust, but Izus able to close out the kill onto Arca. Macbeth coming back away, and Bush on the other end of the map. This looks like it's going to turn into a Phoenix. Even though at the start of that, it looked like it should absolutely have been in favor of the Just Build Different roster.
Yeah, this game is just starting to... Well, I can't call this a snowball anymore. This is a rock slide more than anything.
It's an avalanche, man.
Yeah, almost 12,000
Almost 12.
and there's still 1 tower left.
15,000 XP lead as well. I mean, they've got 3 at 20. And on the other side, your highest levels are your 3 at 18. That is not a position you want to be in. Now, it's not unrecoverable. Especially in current Smite, there are plenty of things in place that can help you mount your comebacks. But it's not somewhere you want to be playing from, especially as you were saying with these super aggressive supports like Mulan, especially like a Mulan with Gladiator Shield. I'm surprised we haven't seen a Pridwin pickup at any stage in the build, but at the same time, none of the items that Griff has picked up particularly surprised me themselves. Just the lack of Pridwin.
Yeah, definitely, and I feel like I already said this in game 1, but this definitely is starting to be the case that this is not JBD's win, this is DN's to lose, and we're starting to approach a point where I'm not even sure they can lose this anymore.
Yeah, absolutely no contest at the beacon here as well. Instead, JBD choosing to just regroup, grab some wards, and see what they can do.
And about that Agni build, it ended up being Tablet's second item, which is... I find that extremely weird pickup in that slot, and generally also without a Book of Thoth.
Second build tablet's not the most abnormal thing, but he hasn't been able to hit as many of those stacks as you'd probably like to for a second build tablet. And you also don't have the Book of Thoth to go with it, which is usually first when tablet goes second. Suddenly a lot of damage coming out onto Griff, looking for the execute as Valk is going to completely whiff despite having 2 valid targets. JBD having to back off a little bit. Semi saying you are not allowed and is going to secure the kill onto Scotty. Macbeth goes down to Sparta in their base, almost under. Fountain is going to be the 3rd kill. Valk going to have to back up on low HP. Izu's able to secure the kill onto Arca, who is just barely out of Fountain. Now they're looking to kill the Titan from behind. Have some honor, guys. You just nearly wiped the enemy team. At least let their Titan swing first. Come on. Oh my goodness.